Block cell. Derivatives trading involves substantial risk and loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Good morning. Well, we're having an interesting move here this morning in the Treasuries. Yesterday, we were kind of flat, I would say. Let's make this big and show you the charts. Pretty, it's been pretty choppy the past week, really. But today, they just really fell out of the bed overnight. So here, yesterday kind of had a little bit of a move up and then a little bit of a move back down. And this really, now yesterday, for a brief moment, they did go inverted again. And the news media made a big deal of it. And look, they bought it up and we're back above that spot. I should put it in here like a line or something. I think it's like literally right there. Where's drawing? Drawing tools, horizontal line. Okay. I think it's somewhere around there. Okay, so we're positive again. And here the E-mini hasn't actually moved that much. So this is a move that is pretty isolated to treasuries. Do we see moves in the currencies? Well, 6J is moving down pretty hard. So I would say yes. And 6P is not. Euro, you have to say it's probably not related to the euro. So this appears to be related to China stuff. Most likely, at least. We are getting a little bit of a pullback signal here, so let's just kind of watch and see what it does. Ryan says, why is learning so hard? Well, Ryan, it's really not learning. I mean, learning is itself can actually be a very easy process. But when we're talking about trading, we're not really talking about learning so much as we are self-improvement. And self-improvement is really effing hard, right? Because self-improvement is fixing all of the things that you're doing wrong. And if you knew how to not do those things, then you would not be doing them. And that makes self-improvement the most difficult thing you're ever going to do, isn't it? So it's hard. And, trading is hard because it's self-improvement. And also because, the market, you might just be in a poor market. I have to say, up until, this past week, it hasn't been a very good market for us. I haven't made money. Could have, but, it's hard. In an environment like that, only the best traders are going to make money. So anyways, I hope you better luck this morning. I hope that nothing too bad happened. I don't have my Discord up. Let's pull the Discord up. I have so many things to distract me. It used to be just the Discord, and I feel like I've been neglecting it. So what else is going on? Well, we have a couple of things to talk about today. Ooh, here we go. Kansas City Fed's Esther George says July rate cut was not needed. Oh, that's a good headline. Let's put that in our little squawk. Huh? You're relegated to second place now, Bernie. Sorry. Haven't been on Discord in a long time, too. Yeah. Well, it seems like that most of you guys that really want to chat and interact have been using the YouTube. YouTube has been so much more active, and that's okay. I think that the Discord should really be more for you have a signal or a particular analysis of sorts that you want to share. You put it on the Discord. You can post pictures on the Discord, and for interacting outside of when the YouTube is up. So, head over there. I always make comments after the stream on the Discord about what's happening, or like if I was looking at something and then we see where it actually went, and I'll comment on it. So I would always, if those of you that haven't checked out the Discord, you should do so. I think we should change this little thing. What should we say here? Let's do that. I'll give some messages there. Then I can say, yes, I did tell people to, subscribe and all of those sorts of things. That's in the bottom there. Yeah? Is that good? Maybe I could reword it. Okay, so what I'm seeing right now is they're buying it, but they're having a hard time. They're having a hard time, aren't they? Do we see anything over here? Well, it looks like that the book says to buy. It seems that way, at least. Seems that way. Anyways, Kansas City Fed's Esther George says the July rate cut was not needed. That is pretty... This whole thing with the Federal Reserve is getting really quite interesting, isn't it? Because at the meeting, you had two people that thought that we should decrease the interest rates by 50 basis points. And then you had two people that said that that we shouldn't do anything, which is quite... How many people are on the board? They're like 12? Who are the 7 members of the Federal Reserve Board? There's 7? I should know them all, huh? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, no, wait, those aren't. Those are actually all the same people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the 2 regional ones, I guess. These for everybody that's ever been on it. Bum, 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 bum. But if there's 7 of them, 2 of them wanted a 50 basis point cut, 2 of them didn't want any cut at all, then only 3 people actually voted for the course of action to reduce it by 25 basis points. And one of those probably was Powell. That is, to me, quite interesting. So we have an extremely divided Federal Reserve. I mean, relatively speaking, I always thought that it was like everybody just went along with what the president wanted or something like that. But that's not what's happening. So something's, I wish I knew more about. I wish that I was somebody that had been in on those meetings for years and kind of knew what the group dynamics were and things like that. When I read the meeting notes, it kind of always seems like it's like they somebody probably was like, gave a presentation like, okay, well, here's some data that we have and it's really good. And then somebody else would be like, yeah, but, and then they would point out this other thing because they disagreed with it or something like that. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's just, Anyways. So it's kind of like that, huh? Well, it seems like the big orders are still selling for the most part. We actually got up to 06.5, but I didn't get any kind of a clear signal. Anyways, it's going to be interesting to see what they do out of the next meeting. If all of the market action and the most recent data changes some of those other board members' minds. But as it stands right now, the market has been pretty quiet this past week. There is the Jackson Hole thing. And Treasuries are selling pretty hard today. I don't think we've quite reached target yet, have we? There's this like way down there. I think there's some spots like 130.01 and 129.25 half. Could be interesting spots. Oh, you know what we need to do? We need to go in and change the title of our video to have the correct day. It's the 22nd. Where are we here? 22nd. There we go. Oh yeah, we had some news here, didn't we? The jobless claims. Actual 209 versus an expected 2,200. That's pretty much all we got today, isn't it? Refresh this. Flash manufacturing PMI at 745. That could be a good number to keep an eye on. That was the only news that came out at 6:30. Kind of looks like that for whatever reason the Europeans were selling us down, and now that the regular session traders are in charge, and they have no reason to move it. In other words, you already missed the worm because it was before the open. At least that's what I see so far. By the way, what about, it does look like the Bitcoin kind of found a floor there yesterday. Awfully wild, huh? Oh. So here was where we said maybe it was a reversal. And they went down again and then down again, and now they're starting to do wild things. Well, that doesn't look like they haven't busted through like the lows, right? That certainly doesn't look positive, does it? Kansas City Fed President Esther George says, don't see negative interest rates for the US right now. Neither do I. Does anybody think that we're going to have negative interest rates in the United States? I mean, it just seems to me, if you have negative interest rates in the United States, you would have negative interest rates around the world. And is that really a doable thing? Could you really have negative interest rates everywhere? Would the economy actually allow that? Or would something weird happen at that point? Okay. No Monkey says, I think it's a consequence of population decline, having fewer and fewer babies. Yay, feminism. Really? So, why would population decline lead to negative interest rates? Wrong says good morning. And while we're waiting on, okay, population is directly correlated to inflation. Okay. Look at the history of inflation in Japan and correlate it to birth rates. No, so I can buy that. So then what is the correlation between population decline and a negative interest rate? So are we saying we increase interest rates when we have positive inflation, and if we have negative inflation, then we need to have negative interest rates, perhaps? Yeah, he says lower inflation equals lower rates. So I totally get that, but it's the phenomenon of it actually being negative. You know, that investors would actually pay money, to hold it the term. They wouldn't do that. Like, why? Well, so I understand. Let me back up there. If the interest rate is negative, that means that you give them money over the term of the loan, essentially. And the only way that you make money is an increase in the price of the bond. Oh, see, Monkey is just saying that they're making money off the increase in the price of the bond, not the interest. But that's the only reason that they get into it. And when you're getting into it in a situation like that, you're probably not going to hold it through the whole time period, right? German bun's up 10% on the year, so that negates the negative rate. Yeah. They're saying that, like, oh man, like it's easy to forget the way that the leverage can work on a bond, because you can have a situation where the bond, the interest rate on the bond only, like, let's say that the interest rates go up. The interest rates could only go up just a teeny tiny little bit, and the value of your bond can go cut in half on some of these corporate bonds. It's like super crazy. See, Ryan says give up on money at that point because there's not enough small pairs. Is the stream breaking up? I do see a few. You are smart. Oh, thanks. I don't know if I'm really that much more intelligent than any normal person. I just tend to have interest in things and the normal person doesn't have. That's all. If the stream is breaking up, is probably just a temporary thing, and you might have to refresh. But I have been skipping frames lately. I've been trying to figure out what the deal is and what I can do about it. But as it stands right now, I don't see anything. Like, I do have keyframe interval set to 2 seconds. So what happens is if I miss a frame and it screws up your playback, then you just have to wait 2 seconds for the next keyframe, and then it should be synced up. And I don't really know what causes it, but I need to fix it. I do. So if you guys have any idea why I'm getting missed frames due to rendering lag, I would appreciate it. Maybe I just need a better video card. I don't know. I'm not about to go out and buy a 2080 or anything, though. I'm running a 1060. It would help. The thing is the encoder is probably the thing that would matter the most. Well, and the thing is it's a two-sided thing. I don't think. Oh no, I do have. So I can see here I've missed 144 frames due to rendering lag, which is 0.2% of frames, and a few due to encoding lag, and then 18 due to network. So it doesn't appear that the network is a significant part of it. So the rendering lag, if I got any kind of new video card, that would probably help. But the encoding lag, I would probably need to get a 20 series video card to get the better and faster encoding, huh? So I don't know. I can do these things like, I think I can come in here to snaz. System info, CPU usage. And copy to clipboard. And then I should be able to come in here and add processor. No, not the scene, the source. Add text processor. And it should be read from a file, and the file will be here. No. Didn't copy anything to my clipboard. There we go. It's going to make me do it the hard way. Snaz. Text files. System info. Okay. So there's that. And I do it in Arial. And I do it, I'll make it, how big should we make it? You know, let's make it relatively big. Why is it upside down? What the heck? Give it an outline. There we go. Oh, I see why. Because I did it, transformed it the wrong way. There we go. So we'll put it right there. That's my processor usage. We'll see. I can add other stuff in here. Percentage of RAM in use. Okay. Let's add RAM available. Let's do it like that. Okay. And, oh wait, it disappeared. Oh, I closed SNAS. I don't want to close it. There we go. There we go. I want to minimize it, and we'll move this over here like that. Okay. So now we can watch that, and if we get a spike, we'll look at the CPU and see if I'm getting some sort of weird CPU spike or something like that. Or if it's the video card. If it's the video card, it could be a NinjaTrader related thing, right? Fed's Georgia, I still think the Fed has a large balance sheet. says, don't yet see signal of downturn in the economy. Well, they're moving up quite a bit, aren't they? They're not really giving us any kind of clear direction, though, like in terms of like points. Any clear signals of spots to turn things. So anyways, so the next question is, what is the long-term impact of negative rates? You know, is there a danger to having negative interest rates for such a long time? I don't know. Well, I guess there is one thing, is that it's good for the government, isn't it? Because that basically means that we're giving the government money. Then investors are giving money to the government. That's really what it means, right? What should we expect from Mr. Powell tomorrow aside from a boring Friday? Man. Well, I mean, well, Mikey says, yeah. I don't think... here's the thing. I think that the market cares too much about what Powell says, personally. Fed buys bonds so banks can buy stocks. So I suppose it's not really such a big... Is it really not like such a concerning thing? I don't know. But when I was thinking about, you know, like my own reaction to the Federal Reserve meeting, I remember him talking about it, you know, this is a mid-cycle adjustment and all of that sort of a thing. And the market really freaked out about that. And I did not pick up on that particular phrase as being a big deal. To me, it was like, okay, yeah, we raised rates in December when we shouldn't have. And now we probably don't need interest rates to be as high. So we need to adjust it. But there isn't a clear indication yet that we really need to be concerned. And the only reason why people are really doing any, you know, why it's a thing is because of the inverted yield curve. And I'm not entirely sure that an inverted yield curve is actually a problem, because the way that the carry works and everything like that, you're really, really likely to get an inverted curve. And so if an inverted curve is people predicting a recession, then in order for it to actually be a prediction, it's going to need to invert a lot more than it normally would, right? Because it's like normally the spread would come in by X points, right? And then that X points would be them predicting a recession. But this time, it's only moving like a quarter of that. And so is that much movement really indicative of a recession coming? Unless that negative curve causes banks to tighten and it causes a recession, and then it's a different thing. Yeah, recession doesn't happen until 1 to 2 years after inversion, after the curve starts trending back up. Then when it starts trending back down, it's risk on. Yes, and for it to really be a signal, most reputable watchers that I've heard, at least, say that it needs to be inverted for a quarter. So, and really, the E-mini, if we come back and look at the E-mini on like a larger chart here, okay, like a daily chart, the 10-year 3-month is a lot worse than the 10-year 2-year. Yeah, but I think that's important too. But let's get that in a second. Scenes, charts. I should probably put my little thing on, my little tape on this one. Anyways, okay, so this right here was because of China, right? And all of this noise up in here was because of the yield curve inverting. Okay, so this matters. In my opinion, that matters. This is just noise. And the thing is, as crazy as the whole China thing, trade war thing has been, we're still not even anywhere close to where we were in June, for instance. Here was where we were in June. And then, when you go into the larger picture, here was this dip. And I still think that, to me, it's kind of crazy that we never retested 2,600. I thought that this was going to go down to here, and then it was going to, but it just kind of recovered on its own. And so I'm kind of looking at this and thinking, well, maybe it's going to do this. Would really depend on a lot of factors. There's probably no way to predict it. There's that. It could also do this. It could also do it could make a little bit of a lower low and then it could go. Or it could, if we really give it a lot more room, we could, frankly, the worst case scenario is we go to here and we go to here and then we recover. And maybe then it would be something like that. But at the moment, I kind of, or think of it this way. Okay. What's different today that wasn't the case in July? Tell me, what is different? What changed? Has anything actually changed? And I'm not convinced that it has. I'm wondering if, because the whole skipped frames thing, I don't remember that being a problem in the past. And I wonder if it's because I'm rendering so many more pixels over here with another screen. And maybe it is a video card thing that because I'm running 3K on 2 monitors, that's too much for the video card. Donald Trump. Germany sells 30-year bonds offering negative yields. Germany competes with the USA. Our Federal Reserve does not allow us to do what we must do. They put us at a disadvantage against our competition. The strong dollar, no inflation. They move like a quicksand, fight or go home. And at the moment they're pointed down, but I'm getting a lot of really churny kind of signals. I'm not quite sure are actionable. This one especially, that's kind of yeah, I don't really like this action, to be honest. So here's another thought. Well, let's see here. What were we gonna? There was something else I was gonna say. Oh yeah, to me, the 2-10-year spread matters more because the 2-year spread is when you know that like that's the end of a recession. The 3-month, for instance. Sure, because we've had 3-month periods that aren't very good with many times throughout this crisis, and so for that to invert doesn't really concern me. The 2 and 10, I think, is really more of a where you want to look for the signal. And again, it depends on whether you think that it's a signal or if it creates recessions. And I really don't know. But if it's a signal, then I think that the situation is such that it's less likely to be a reliable signal. Just personally saying. It's probably not as effective. I would agree with Janet Yellen. It's probably not as good of an indicator as it was before. If it creates a recession, then we have a big problem. And that's why I would be watching bank lending very, very carefully. And if we see banks tighten down on the lending standards, that's a very, very bad sign. Anyways. What was I about to go into? Oh, Donald Trump talking about the Federal Reserve. So I wonder, what would be happening right now if Janet Yellen was in charge? Or even better yet, even better yet, what would be going on if Ben Bernanke was in charge? Right? What are those percentages? The CPU and RAM usage. I'm surprised that I'm using 74% of my RAM, but I don't think that's a big deal. We have gotten a few. I'm at 230 dropped frames. Part of that happened, I think, when I switched over to that chart. It doesn't look like it's a CPU thing, does it? So it must be all the resolution. I think that does mean that I need a better video card. But I don't want to spend money on another video card right now. I'm going to put that money into an account. Well, let's put some money into an account, trade it in September, make $200, and put that on the... Do you have your CPU core parked? No, I believe it's unparked. I'm pretty sure that I went through and did that utility and it's unparked. In fact, you can probably, like if we pull up the performance here, we do the CPU. There's a way to do this, isn't there? View. Ooh, I can view GPU. Ooh. Oh. GPU utilization 17%. Salif Elahi. Good morning. Hey, welcome back. How have you been doing? You know, like when we look at this, it doesn't look like we're using a whole lot of our CPU. 3D copy, video encode, video decode, GPU memory. Utilization is only 17%. So I don't know what causes the skipped frames. It may just be a thing. But I'm just thinking maybe it must be the GPU, because it wasn't until I got this bigger monitor nobody ever said anything. And even then it was not until the past few weeks that I've really heard anything. And the only thing that I've changed is adding this chart. So maybe this is causing it. Maybe when all of that activity comes through on the level 2 and NinjaTrader is trying to update it, maybe that's when the CPU gets all done out. Saif says, oh good, hope you're well. I've been doing okay. I mean, I haven't really made any money this week, but it's been a slow week, and honestly, normally I would have like made big mistakes by this point. So I'm pretty happy so far that we're doing better. Like it helps me in bad action. Now, with that said, it's the top of the hour. Maybe disable the graphics card for... No, why would I... that would just kill everything. Maybe you do a second video card or something like that. I don't know. But let's just see. If we see that CPU go up to like 100%, then that was kind of what I was thinking, was like maybe when the market gets really, really volatile, Jigsaw eats up a ton of data or a ton of processing, and that goes up, and then somehow that affects my rendering or something. Could also be something like, NinjaTrader just starts using GPU. Well, I am noticing, for instance, right there. Oops. I pulled this over. There was a little spike there. There was a little spike there, but we didn't get any dropped frames throughout that, so might not be a thing. I'll just minimize this. I'll just keep this over here. And then when I notice some more dot frames, I can bring that back over and we can see if it tells us anything. Anyways, so the question was, what if Ben Bernanke was still Fed president? And the reason why I bring up Ben Bernanke is because he was the one that, like, when he realized, of course, they were slow. Don't forget about the Kramer rant, right? The Federal Reserve was slow and did not recognize what was going on in the economy until it was already too late. But once they realized what was going on, Ben Bernanke totally took charge. And when you really look at it, like what happened, he basically enlarged the Federal Reserve's role in many respects. Taking interest rates super low, doing quantitative easing, that's his a historic thing that maybe another Federal Reserve president would have said, we can't do that. We're not allowed to do that. Or Congress has to allow us to do that, or something like that, and their role in the markets, and then all of the things with like the press conferences, and he changed a lot of stuff, right? A lot of volatility last week. Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, Saif, is I've been doing really well with the volatility. It's when it's really kind of slow and churny and random that I have problems. Anyways, so what if Ben Bernanke was still chairman? Would he look at this situation and say, maybe we need to change something? Maybe the Federal Reserve does need to take into account things like trade and interest rates from other countries? Zero Hedge responded to Donald Trump's tweet saying, because Germany is about to enter a recession. I have struggled, to be honest. Well, that's, as long as you're being honest about it. There's no shame in that, though. I mean, you have a volatile market, somebody's going to have to lose, right? Okay, if buyers sustain this overnight bid above 29.18, then 29.48 target. If that breaks, then anticipated deeper pullback. But he's right in that. I think the thing is based on the economic data right now, the Federal Reserve, like another basis point cut is probably okay. But there's probably no need to reduce interest rates by 100 basis points, for instance, like the president wants, right? At least the economic data to me right now, and I'm not an expert on this sort of thing, but just kind of, my own kind of feel from having watched this thing over the years, that seems like, 100 basis points would be a pretty ridiculous decrease that the Federal Reserve would only do if they had information that said that we're about to go into a recession, which we don't have right now. But it also seems to me like if we reduced interest rates by 100 basis points, that you know, the risk with having really low interest rates is inflation, right? I don't think that you're going to get that inflation. And so from that perspective, I think he's probably right. We probably could reduce interest rates by 100 basis points. But that would be contrary to how the Fed operates, because now the Federal Reserve is reducing interest rates to give us the advantage in trade and in currencies, and would have nothing to do with maximum employment, which is already great, and inflation, right? So to do what Donald Trump is asking, the Federal Reserve would have to, they would be making a change, right? And that's where I say maybe Powell is just not enough of a visionary. Maybe if you had somebody like Ben Bernanke in there right now, maybe he would be doing what Donald Trump is saying. I don't know. But it's worth considering, right? I'm seeing a lot of people out there saying we should reduce interest rates 100 basis points, and I don't know. And the bigger thing is that I just feel like last week's action in particular is kind of like hysteria. What's different? Nothing's different. Am I wrong? Is there something that has changed since June that I'm not? Well, let's say the 4th of July. Let's say the 4th of July. Is there something that has changed since the 4th of July that I'm forgetting? Why am I getting the hiccups? So there was a little spike to 12%. Pulled the bounce below 165.19, which they certainly have. Then 162.17 is the target. Where is that on here? 162.17. You must be using some sort of, retracement numbers, because there's nothing special about 162.17 on the chart. I can see, though, certainly if we continue to move down, 162.25 would definitely be a real magnet. It doesn't matter for trading. Trade was, well, you got to understand what's happening to be able to understand what's happening right now, right? That's the thing. I'm telling you, the more that you understand about what the Federal Reserve is doing and the whole discussion and everything like that, it makes you a better trader, because you understand more about your instrument. And that's where our edge comes from. So we know about the 10-year Treasury and how it tends to move and how it would react to news like that and what the current situation is, so that if something changes, we can look at it and we can judge the action and determine if we want to get involved or not. Norway foreign minister says, considering various measures how to contribute to maritime safety in Hormuz. I thought it was just Hormuz. Or that I didn't know that there was another Z in there. It really is. So it appears to me that we did get something there. And then they could move down again. but it's being really like the swings being basically 5 ticks each time is a little concerning. So like I could have taken 09 essentially. If I could have gotten 09, then and I could have taken 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 out of that. But the overall thing kind of says to me that I need to not be touching it. So there we got a little bit of. So if I come over here and I show you, there was some CPU activity back here. It was a little churny, and when I look at the GPU, there was a little bit of that. So maybe it's the case that when this really gets moving, that having all these charts on here is a problem. You know what's another thing is I added oil onto this chart, and I probably don't want that. Okay, let's get rid of oil. Let's get rid of, this chart right here. This, maybe I should keep that one on. I don't know. Sure like it. Now I'm going to get rid of that one too. So that I don't have that tab anymore. See, I haven't had any dropped frames now since we put that, put the number up. I'm wondering if maybe we're going to come and extend this range out to here. Because you can see they started to move down and it's turning up on its own. Dick's Sporting Goods climbing in the pre-market after the company became the latest retailer to top earnings expectations. I tell you, it is a pretty quiet day today, isn't it? It must just be the whole Jackson Hole thing. I'm wondering, what we've been doing the past few days is like we've been sitting quiet, and then sometime after the E-mini gets going, then I would start seeing trades, right? And I'm looking at it now and I'm thinking maybe I just shouldn't be trading it. I would really need to see something I would need to see a really, really good pattern. Oh, I need to fix that. Fix the ticker at the bottom. It didn't have some space. There was a spacing problem. I thought that having the ticker tape down at the bottom and having to update it manually would be a really big pain in the butt, but it hasn't been too bad, and I'm really glad that I just put it up there. And it sounded like that you guys enjoyed having it too, so. And probably for a new person, it might make things a little bit more interesting. Maybe. Super quiet. Let's check here. Let's check out our Patreon. Oh. I need to do more to promote the Patreon. Because that's a really powerful thing that I've created, and it's as many people taking advantage of it as I think should. Cool. That fixes that. I should just, I don't know. Maybe I should just change things up over on the Patreon. Well, it's doing something right there. Suppose one thing that we could do is we could have like a Patreon access session or something like that. Like we could make something where like everybody can watch, but like the Patreons, they can come in and chat, or maybe you go get over a voice chat or something, and on like a weeknight in the evening, and we can use that time period to like review things and like do mentoring sort of stuff. That's maybe one idea. There's a lot of things I could probably do with the Patreon. Could also try moving over to Subscribescar. So every time that I think about doing that, though, I'm like, yeah, but you're like building up a whole new audience over there. I don't know. But I feel like I've got something super powerful over in the Bitcoin charts, and I should be taking better advantage of it. And it's hard for me to short the market, but there's I could do more with it. I could do more. Another thing that might be happening is because I've changed the stream to ultra low latency. Maybe it's the case that I was always dropping frames before, but now that it's on ultra low latency, you get a little bit more of a thing. But like you'll notice the delay is like super. There's like almost no delay now, which is cool. And another thing is I did change the resolution. So I'm doing the output here, video, and I'm doing like the nicest downscale filter that I can. And that could also be a contributor. But all of those things would be fixed by 3000 at 8, 1700 at 8. And it's telling me that it's doing something here. Let's get rid of that. Hmm. It did take 08 half once. IQ says big NR at 03. I'm noticing also there's some size down there. About these ones. That there in the 30 years, kind of. I would prefer to see it in the 5 year. And here, given where the range is and everything like that, taking a sell into 08 is probably a little dicey. Over 1200 traded there, huh? Did it draw me a bubble? Oh, it did draw me a bubble. Bum, bum, bum. Oh, you can't change this. I hate how when it's grouped. When the task icons in your taskbar are grouped together, you can only move those together. You can't resort those. So I can move like my Ninja Trader on to the left of my Jigsaw ones, but I can't change the order of these individual charts. Another thing I could do, another thought, is I could make another ticker tape that puts the Patreons on it. That would be cool. And I could even do something like I could give you you could put something in there if you wanted. There's room down there, you don't need to see this little area right here, and you don't need to see as many chat windows either. So we could put one right there. We could have like a 2-tier thing. Maybe a thought. Where's my Twitter? Japan Foreign Minister Kono aims to manage relations with South Korea firmly and continue working to improve ties. 6 minutes to the equities open. What else? Oh, there's another thing that we need to talk about today. Since we've spent so much time talking about the Fed. See, we talked about the market. Now we have to talk about politics again, guys. I'm sorry. And why do we need to talk about politics? Because this morning, Bernie Sanders has put out a $16 trillion plan. A $16 trillion Green New Deal. Can you believe that? $16 trillion? That is so much money. Like, man, how is that ever gonna... Now, the good news for Bernie Sanders is that it's a pretty serious plan. and it's probably going to help him against, progressives. I'm wondering if when you look at between Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, that maybe the key to winning the progressive side is the climate change issue, because this is something that the general population doesn't really care too much about, but progressives care a lot about. It's like number 3 issue to them. And this is something where I think that Bernie Sanders could probably put up more progressive plan than Elizabeth Warren would. Wouldn't it be funny if, Bernie Sanders has the most progressive climate change plan, and that's how he gains AOC's favor, but then Elizabeth Warren still wins or something like that. That would be right. You're gonna wait for AOC to endorse one or the other, and then the other one loses, and then she would really look dumb, wouldn't she? I'm not saying that's gonna happen, but it's funny to think about. Joe Walsh says he's strongly considering challenging President Trump in the Republican primary. I mean, if you want to waste you and all your donors' money, then go right ahead. See, it's kind of telling me, it's not giving me a signal per se, but there are people fading this. And there's a sizable amount of people fading this. They're still not above. Well, okay, so 09 was kind of the spot. 09 to 09.5. And then there's 11. There was a little bit of activity here at the top. But they're actually on both sides. They're on bids and offers. There's Ace. How's it going? I'm kind of looking at it and I'm thinking, well, I don't know. In a quiet market, it would be better to buy the E-mini, right? But it looks positioned down, right? So I assume that he's going to give us a short, but let's see what he says. Well, he is a little bit later too, so maybe he doesn't take a trade until after the open, huh? New poll, Trump has 62% of disapproval rating from The Hill. So this is another thing that I've been noticing in polling. Yeah, he says too close to open, but the waffles were good. Well, good. That's good. You know what I've been doing lately? As I've been having croissants. I am all in on the croissants right now. Like you get a croissant, you cut it in half and put some egg in it, some cheese, mayonnaise, pieces of bacon. We get this bacon from Costco that's like already cooked, so you just stick it in the microwave for like 30 seconds and you're good to go. It's good stuff. That's what I've been eating. I haven't been doing too good at starting to stream. Like, it used to be that I would be able to start 5 minutes before the open, which is really the best because you can get some good trades there at the open. But, so I think I want to take this one. Oh, but it's right in front of the open. It says to me that they're gonna sell this. Maybe not. Maybe that's just the open. They bought it and now they're getting out, and that's why it's doing that. But he says that sounds good. It works. And the do not take a trade right now. Or yeah, he says. I look at the signal and I'm like, oh, take a trade, but then I have to remember what time is it. But it looks like that the Treasury wants to turn here, which might mean they might buy over here. Let's see what they do. Well, the first impulse was a buy, but that's not, the amount and the volume and everything is pretty insignificant. So let them fight it out a little bit more than that. Huh? Okay. Okay. So this is turning into a very, very large signal here in the Treasuries. So can you see this 09? Look at the 09 and the 09 half. How much people are putting on the inside bids in this spot. Okay. It's awfully churny, huh? I think the trade would be at 09.5 if it took. Gotta wait at least 5 minutes. 3,000 at 09. Not breakthrough. That's a pretty big iceberg at 09. How much is it going to take to push through that? Do I see anything else going on here? No. I can see there in the cumulative delta it all dumping. But all of that iceberging at 09 might have just been the people that were long through this and were taking profits or something. You could probably get filled there at 09.5 right now. Now it's interesting that they're spending their time at the top end of this in ES, but the cumulative delta is still short. Barkland father's emotional appeal to Trump on gun debate. Enough, stay out of this. Oh no. The president shouldn't have any say on gun control laws. You think she's about to turn down the ES? I think you might be right. I mean, so that right there, you sell that. If you could give us 36. Okay. The Treasuries ticked higher. Well, we could take one now. He says target 29.27. Did he give you an entry price though? Did I miss it? I'm thinking right there, but I'm probably too early on that, you know? You know, like when they fight like that can go either way. Probably right here at the 29.37 area. Well, let's just see. I'm gonna have to put my stop like up here, right? They're probably gonna go get it. You really have to wait for a strong impulse. Like, I think that would be it right there. Okay. So that's not entirely positive. She looks tired, but the buyers aren't giving up yet. I don't know. Doesn't quite look like the right spot though, does it? The scientific word for this would be wrong, being wrong. Well, it might not necessarily be wrong, but early. There was a little bit of delta on that long though, wasn't there? So it's kind of hard to say, but you see that the Treasury ticks up again? And I'm getting wild. This very much looks like a short setup. It's just kind of a question of like where and when. How far? Well, he said 29.27, right? 29.3650, huh? If they can go and touch it. So do you put that in with a stop order? Do you like to stop into it? I've suspected that's the way that you've been doing it, because it's always a little bit further out than where we are. Okay, now a seller is coming in much more aggressively. You see that? See how much he's selling it? Even though it ticked up there. Wife is up early today because she's got to work. Sounds like happy birds to me. He is definitely selling that hard. Well, he stopped there at 29.3750. That's curious. Let's see here. Yes, my stop and target are set as well. 4-tick stop, but I often move that to a 3-tick. Really? You really only do it 3 ticks? Well, that explains a few things about when you're wrong, how you're out so quickly and stuff. Because I'm sitting here, I need like 8 ticks to give it to breathe. Well, there was definitely somebody selling it there, and then he just kind of stopped. And the treasuries continue to give me like this look, like they think something is up. I don't need 8 ticks to know I went the wrong direction. How? You really got to tell me more, because I don't see how you can really give a good idea about where it's going without 8 ticks, because it can just kind of randomly move 8 ticks. So you've got a really good momentum. You're really catching momentum when you do it. It's super interesting to me. Yeah. Like, to me, 3 ticks in treasuries is like random action, you know? Well, they're still buying. The treasuries are still going. Maybe they like this. This is like buy all the things. I don't know. Angela Merkel, I did not set a 30-day deadline. I said that what one can achieve in 3 or 2 years can also be achieved in 30 days. It's not about 30 days. The 30 days were meant as an example to highlight the fact that we need to achieve it in a short time. Okay. So now the E-mini has given it to me. And I'm seeing large orders coming in on CN. Something's definitely up. Ace is going to step away from the computer, huh? Something's up. Complete reversal at Seth. I mean, this kind of action normally would have been a reversal in treasuries, right? It isn't moving Why is it moving? She talking? Is it Merkel talking that's causing this? Why is the E-mini not reacting to it? Well, now you could maybe potentially short it because they're like way overdone now. There it is. Thank you. Mayhem. Yeah, right. We did get some dropped frames there, but I don't see anything with this. Well, CPU usage is certainly a lot higher, but okay. The amount that we got there in the E-mini, that was not that much. Flash PMI. Oh, you're right. Oh, you're totally right. What was the flash PMI? $49.9 versus 50.5. Final services 50.9 versus 52.9. The amount, it's a miss, but is that, I don't know. I don't think that that's it. That's not that big of a miss. It's a pretty wild move there in the equities. And there was a really big move in the yen as it happened. A really big move in the yen as it happened. So we must be getting some Chinese currency stuff going on here. It's interesting though, right? The Treasuries knew it was happening, but it was a continuation in that spot. Okay, they're gonna get below the open now here in a second. Hopefully. Okay, so now below the open there's some covering. I think this could keep going though. Man, Lucas says PMI didn't seem important either. Well, I mean, it is an important number, but the amount that they missed by wasn't that much, you know? Something else is up. The Treasuries know something that the E-mini does not. I don't know. I think we're going to see here a piece of news slowly trickle out to the rest of the market. Probably somebody already knew and was taking the trade in the Treasuries. But the equity guys don't know yet. That's the only explanation I can come up with, because, man. But you can see there's a pretty strong move down in equities and bouncing at the open again. Ace Set Trade says, who wants to bet that hits 27 and bounces back up to 29.27? Maybe. I'm telling you though, Ace, we just had a 25 tick move up in Treasuries. Of course, I missed it because I was taking a trade in the E-mini, and also because, the signal was a continuation, which is a tough one to take. When it's quiet and it's a continuation, that's a tough trade to take. I probably should have had it sitting there with an order at 10 or 11 to buy it. And then maybe that's one way that you could take advantage of something like that. But that was wild move in Treasuries. So why? China partially eases restrictions on gold imports, says Reuters. That could maybe do it. That could certainly do it. The other interesting thing is on this move up, look at the way that the cumulative delta went in the 10-year. It was actually quite random. You could build a big house with all the energy you waste asking, why did the market do this or that? Oh. I mean, that's the thing is when you have a move like that, I think one of the reasons that to me it really matters is you have a move like that and it comes up to that 25 area, like 19, okay? That's a short. That's a really good short, actually. But do you really want to step in front of that? So it depends on why it happened. If it's because the Chinese are doing something with gold, that would maybe explain why the E-mini hasn't fallen so much. And yeah, you could maybe take it short. Maybe you could take it short. And I'm telling you guys, I don't know why so many people want to not know, but you can't just look at the numbers. I mean, a lot of the movement in markets is random, right? And so the reason why a piece of news matters is because that tells you, okay, some news hit, it moved, and it was news, and this was the piece of news. Then that's not a random movement, right? And you can use that as a guide from then at that point. So if this is a piece of news that doesn't affect the E-mini, then this thing down is not, maybe you want to take the profit on it. The clue was at 03, a big order, and it worked ZV, yeah. Well, it gave us a couple of signals, right? I mean, look, this thing that I saw on my indicator, pretty good signal. And the big orders showing up. I mean, they knew. And they knew before it went for sure. I'm just noticing that the E-mini has pulled back pretty decently. But it hasn't recovered in Delta at all. Weak US PMI data hits US risk assets. I suppose it could have been the PMI. It didn't seem to me like the PMI was missed that badly, but it did miss. One of those numbers missed worse than the other one, but the amount that it missed by it was pretty average in comparison to the past. $27 tick move, yeah. That move in that was a monster move. But you know what? It was a currency move, so that's another thing, right? We want to know where the move came from. Because then we could go and we can say things like, okay, normally if I trade off of cumulative delta and we have a big move up, I would want to see a really big move up in cumulative delta. But because this was a big move in currencies, I can see it's not going to move up that much because we're moving with a correlation. So this divergence between price and cumulative delta, I can't read anything into that. Boom, boom, boom. So if that was your strategy, if your strategy was I see a really big new high in price and not a big new high in cumulative delta, which is basically what we're seeing right now, and then I want to take it short or something like that. I don't know why that would be your strategy, but I'm sure there's somebody out there that does that. Well, you would have to think twice about that trade because the reason it moved up was because of a currency correlation. I tend to think of it as like, okay, is this something that the market just needs to price in and then they can price it in quickly and then that's it? Or is this something that so fundamentally changes the market that it could cause chaos all day? You know? Sounds a bit stressed today? Oh, I don't know about that. Do I sound stressed today? Well, I am in a trade, right? Maybe I'm stressed because of that. But mostly it just irks me whenever people are like, when I'm like, okay, so let's try and figure out why that moved. And everybody's like, well, I don't care. How can you not care? Okay. Lowest print in 10 years, says Zero Hedge on the PMI. That's curious. Well, when did this move again? So it had already moved up quite a bit before that news hit. And it didn't actually move all that much on the release. Well, this move in the 10-year could be a combination of them. But given that it's been a good 15 minutes now and we still don't have a clear answer, I probably have to assume that there isn't a clear answer. Well, that trade that I said, you take it short at 19, 4 ticks, I guess. I think I would have taken that one if I wasn't in this trade. Can't say though if it's going to do anything more. Like this might just be a pullback and they're going to make another push lower. I don't know. I would have thought, okay, given how large the treasuries moved, that the ES would move more. But is the chaos in the German bond market what's happening that is making the candles flicker? The candles flicker. Well, I mean, the market's moving, right? The treasury, we just had a 25 tick up move, okay? So 24 ticks in a 30-minute time period in the 10-year happens like you're talking about like a fourth standard deviation move, right? Like it almost never happens. It's like if you get 24 ticks, if you caught 24 ticks on that, you should take the profit. Statistically speaking, you should just take the profit because the chances of it going any further than that are extreme. It's unheard of. In the data sets that I've had, it's never happened more than 24 ticks, right? That's a big move. Candlesticks and bars. But I mean, they're still moving. I mean, the E-mini had a little bit of a sell there. It's still unclear if they're going to try and make it under the open and have any kind of a real sell. And that's kind of another interesting thing is that they're still holding that open price so far. So I could probably go long here at 17. Big iceberg at 17.5. It's fighting there at 29.34. Do you read Milton Friedman? Well, I don't read him, but I've watched a lot of his stuff. Milton Friedman had a lot of things right, but he's an interesting guy. Here's the thing. The main economic theory, like the main thing that he came up with, is not the way that the U.S. law sees it, and is not really the way that even companies see it anymore. But his big thing was that, a company's primary responsibility is to the shareholders, and that if they do what's right for the shareholders, then that overall they'll do the right thing, and that's the best thing for everybody. And the U.S. economy says no, that they have other duties as well. And companies, for instance, a group of CEOs came out just the other day and said that, that they think that our responsibilities are to more than just our shareholders. So that was his main thing. That was what he got his his big recognition prize for or whatever, right? Another thing that he supported was a negative income tax. And they actually tried this in the 70s. And what they found was that when they did it, that it caused less people to work. And so it reduced GDP essentially. So they stopped doing it. He supported that idea. So, you know, those are two things that he said that was wrong. But he points out a lot of other things that, about markets that I very, very much agree with, and that I think that people would do well to remind themselves about. I think, for instance, the discussion we were having earlier, I think he missed about climate change. I think it's a really good example. If there really is like a climate global warming crisis, that sounds like a money-making opportunity to me if I ever heard of one. Saving the world is big business, folks. Why do we need to put $16 trillion into the economy? The market won't do that for you. If the market's not willing to put the money into it, then it must not be a good investment. So why should the government be wasting its money on it? I mean, now there's doesn't mean that the government should never put research. Of course not, right? For instance, you have to have government cooperation to do nuclear research. Of course, Bernie Sanders' plan basically shutters nuclear power research, which is really, really bothers me. But I digress. But I'm just saying, if the market thinks that this is a poor investment, why should we be spending my tax dollars on it? Right? There's a reason that the market's not investing in this. I'll tell you the reason. It's because the solutions that they have out there suck. Okay? Solar and wind don't do it. You need nuclear power. And isn't it funny that the one thing that could actually solve this problem they have in his plan, he basically kills? Right? But this is a good example. I think that's what Friedman would say. Are you referring to Art Laffer and his curve? Friedman is of the Adam Smith School of Record of History, as shown that no alternative way so far discovered of improving the lot of ordinary people can hold a candle to the productive activities that come from a free enterprise system. Well, I totally agree with that, but I mean, that's a completely different issue, right? And, the Laffer curve is a thing. You know what I find is so funny is all last year, really quite ironic, all last year there was like, okay, if they had, they would look at it month by month, the tax receipts. And it turned out that the government made less money that month. And they would be like, see, Donald Trump's tax cuts are losing the government money and making the budget worse. But then when you looked at it at the end of the day, over the past 2 years since it's been in, we've made more money. And the amount of money that we've made more is completely in line with the average amount that we tend to move up every year. So what does that mean? That means that the Donald Trump tax cuts were revenue neutral, just like that they said they were. But when it turns out that they were revenue neutral, do you see anybody in the news report on it? No. But how was it able to be revenue neutral? The Laffer curve. The economy generated so much money that the cuts basically offset themselves from the corporations paying more taxes because they were making more money. It totally worked the way that they said it would. It's kind of funny. And I don't think that anybody, all the liberal economists will probably just ignore it. So you're saying that you're getting buffering. Okay, good to know. I do see, a few dropped frames. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm having problems with my frames, dropped frames all of a sudden. I tried changing a few things. Those things didn't change it. Maybe I need to change my downscaling, or maybe I just need to move back to the 2K resolution. I don't know. Maybe I can. What happens if I stream it in 2K resolution, but I still have it for low latency? Then will YouTube do that for me or something? Or maybe it will disable it. It probably will disable it. Well, they're threatening again to go down, but they're being pretty lackadaisical about it. "17 watching." Well, thank you. Do you see I put some messages in my little ticker tape to remember to hit the bell icon and to visit the Patreon? Yeah? Yeah? So there was another little step lower, but let's see. We'll see. Minus 29, 28. So we have 27 because that's where Ace was calling it to, for where he said that it was going to go. Oh, did I not? Did I write it? Did I make a... No, I have Patreon. Yes. And day trading, not day drinking unless you score big. We should make the speculator Seth drinking game. I mean, I don't drink, but you know, we could come up like I could say something like what's something that I say a lot? Like if I say all right, every time I say all right or so or something like that, then you have to take your drink. So this has been a pretty strong amount of selling in the E-mini. It is indicative of a trend day down in equities. But the movement is not, is it? We're having trouble really holding much of an offer below the open. We have a long way to go. 29.18 would be the overnight low. You know, was really far away there. Let's come in here and reload our levels really quickly. Opening range low was 29.30.75. You don't drink and I don't drink. The game will be slow going, but I like the idea of drunken ace of trades. There you go. A looped Lucas. I think he's one. Well, we saw him here earlier, but I haven't seen him. Oh yeah, no, he was posting there a little bit earlier. He asked me what are those percentages in my screen. Those are my resource utilization on my CPU. We're trying to figure out why I'm dropping frames on you guys sometimes. Because what'll happen is I'll drop frames, and if you happen to, one of those frames was one of the ones that your player was relying on for syncing, then basically it will take 2 seconds for another keyframe to come. And so you'll get, you know, you have a little bit of trouble for a bit, essentially. So I don't know why it's happening, and I'm trying to figure out why. So that's why I'm, sitting here with this percentages up. This will probably be a one day only sort of a thing, but something to see if maybe when we're getting really big moves that we're getting higher processor utilization. But it seems to me, even when the treasuries were moving up super crazy, that we weren't getting that. So I don't know. Well, they're pushing that low again, but they haven't gone through it yet. Hmm. Doesn't I thought that my wife would already be gone to work, but she was talking with her parents who stayed the night last night. Hmm. See, it's really threatening it. Do you notice that when they're doing it, it's not incredibly forceful? So this is a thing that I find really interesting to watch in the E-mini is when they approach a low or a high, how do they go about it? Do they go really, really fast and they just really try and bust through it? Or are they kind of slow? And I've seen both ways go, you know, go for new lows and not. So I've seen ones where they'll come up and they'll really push it and then they'll just still stop at the exact same spot and then it goes up. What are capital flows? So capital flows is basically they're saying, where is the money going? So for instance, if I see people sell stocks, they don't just sell them. Those big institutions, they don't just sell all of their stocks and then put that money under a mattress. No. They will take it out and they will go and put it somewhere else. So the question is, where did that money go? So what you'll commonly see happen is the capital will flow out of equities and into treasuries, which is kind of what's happened today. Although honestly, not so sure that we really saw a capital flow here in treasuries. I think that was just currency fluctuation. Here's old housewives pocket money tip and or advice. Look in Dollar General and a TJ Maxx or dollar store investments. Those are stores that are the only kind in rural America. Unless everyone dives to the big city, Dollar General is icky but necessary for some people. Yeah, I remember going there. Well, I mean, they have them here in Utah. I don't go very often, but I remember when I lived out in the Midwest. In Missouri, that was a thing. I can see John saying alligator is back. I could look into. Let's pull up. I should be able to see at least on TradingView. Please, please trade me. Fill me. Fill me. I'm at the back of the line, apparently. Thank you. Okay, Ace. Well, Ace was the one that gave me that number, so thank you. It's kind of funny the way that all worked out because, of course, our original signal didn't work out, and the place where he was seeing his signal didn't work out. But I definitely saw something, and I just said it's going to go, and I was able to pull $40 in the end out of it. So, and I did take that one live, so I'm happy. Um, but I just say it's interesting because, you know, whenever I get some of those equity trades that I've taken that have ended up being really good, I primarily took because of something that I saw over here. Well, there was that one. There was that one. I think we would have a really difficult time trying to buy this right now. I guess I don't take any E-mini trades. Like I did say, they're at 20. 19, I said you sell that, right? And where else did I say? I said it somewhere else, didn't I? Cool. Man, where was it? I'd have to go back and look now. I remember saying, well, I remember pointing this one out and saying, well, given the context, I think that that's a sell. And since I don't see anything super huge, you could potentially sell that. But then there was another one where I said there was a signal, wasn't there? But I don't remember where that was. Notice here the spoofs when they come down. You could take those as a signal, but then you're only getting 2 ticks out of them. So be careful about those ones, right? Same with this one down here is a little bit more, is not the same thing. They're not spoofing, so this one might be different. So I'm just looking at the currency pairs here. And hide for now. If I bring this chart over here to make this a lot bigger, here is the move in the treasuries. And here is the Chinese dollar. And there's no correlation. So I can't say what caused that. The only big correlation that I see is with the yen. So I don't know. So we got out at 27. There was certainly more in it. I'm kind of wondering now. I only took that. That was an edge that Ace gave me that I'm just kind of trusting him on, right? I'm not seeing anything that would give me a good idea of where to get out. So I'm wondering if we had just trailed the stop. We just trailed the stop, I suppose we could still be in. This leg from open is only moved back to value after Euro huge slide. After minutes bias is clearly down and in the short term. For sure. I am seeing somebody trying to load up on more here though. So I don't know. Now, when we look at the chart, though, I'd say that the chart in the E-mini is starting to reflect what I was saying from the beginning of my trade, which is that there's something going on in the E-mini. They know something, and it has not percolated to the other markets. And now the E-mini is, said that too, and they're looking at a new low. Let's see here. Seth's typing fast and furious, looking very Paul Walker there. Oh, thank you. Is that where's? So here's a I don't know if I really look like Paul Walker, guys. He's way better looking than me. Good grief, he's way so much better looking than me. I guess I can kind of see some things in the face, like I think kind of we have similar cheekbones. Yeah, and I would say pretty similar forehead, eyebrows. I of course have much larger eyes than he does, and he has a much more square chin than I do. So I found on Instagram, because if you go into Instagram and you click on search, then it will show you what's popular in other people's in your followers networks. So that's kind of when I get bored, I will go and I will look through those. See, look, they're moving up again, and the treasuries are accelerating. There's something. I feel like that there's something out there that we don't know yet. President Trump will be presented options for future biofuel policy. One possibility is reversing some small refinery waivers already granted. Yeah, the economy is doing well. The Federal Reserve can easily make it record-setting. The question is being asked, why are we paying much more in interest in Germany and certain other countries? Be early for a change, not late. Let America win big rather than just win. So this is a convincing argument to me. I mean, he's been saying the same thing over and over again, but the way that he presented it just there really makes me think. If the United States is the healthiest economy in the world, why should we be paying higher interest rates? Shouldn't they want to be in so badly that our interest rates should be lower than everybody else's? Yes, maybe even negative? What do you think? I told a live stream this morning to tune into your channel host, Eric, talking with famous people, eat more cheese. Okay. Well, I did eat cheese this morning, but well, thank you for, sharing the stream around with people. I have to say though, there was a couple other comments here. When you start typing people and looking at personalities, it is interesting to see the subtle similarities. Interest rates keep inflation down, right? Well, higher interest rates will reduce inflation, yes. I don't want to say reduce inflation. Higher interest rates curb economic growth, and higher economic growth is related to inflation. And as we were saying earlier, the reason that we always want to have 2% inflation is because we have population growth. And his argument, Monkey, and I think is a very good argument, and I think something that we should study more. Maybe we can find some economic papers that back this idea up, that because Europe is seeing negative population growth, they are going to see negative inflation, and that's why they're getting negative interest rates. Ace says no bounce off 29.27. Well, I'll tell you what, Ace. I really did my best to try and make it bounce there, but my buy order didn't do a thing. So I opened up some new tabs, and you can tell that my memory usage changed considerably. Let's close them in and go back down to 75. So it was 27, right? So 17, that's another almost $50, right? Because I took my short at 37. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. But that's what we were saying earlier, is I'm looking at this and I'm like, well, what could I have used as a guide about where to get out? And the answer is there is none. This is just moving. And we're really still not sure why. Alligator, well, how I see it, the full point move in Eurobonds have pushed us bonds way out of value, absorbed by market makers, and triggered some selling at the open due to amplitude and losses, but came back to VWAP. When reached, there was an acceleration, probably those shorts puking and street players flipping, which pushed the other side all the way up. Market makers absorbed and reduced their positions, probably net shorts, and back to the VWAP again. Classic oscillation around the VWAP. And he's correct that we went, basically we oscillated one deviation above the VWAP and then back. Maybe he's right. Maybe it was just a rebalancing. But then the E-mini is starting to really fall apart. Well, how does this look on a larger chart? Okay, we're going into yesterday's prices now, and there is a point of control from earlier at 29.09. That would be one stop. There was a potential buy down in there that I didn't catch. Now market's price normalized, so back to normal, usual correlation, kind of risk off at the moment. So now that news about, okay. State Department says U.S. is deeply concerned about China's interference with Vietnam's oil and gas activities. U.S. says China's actions call into serious question Beijing's commitment to peaceful resolution of maritime dispute. Whoa. Whoa. Maritime disputes. I mean, that could be it. I don't know. And this, so that seems like that there's more to that than what I see in the headline. So they say maritime disputes. Why would they be saying maritime disputes with China? Unless they're referring to the Iran thing. It's really falling apart now. Well, I should have tried to let it run. I could have been made a couple $100. I made a really good trade, and look at how amazing it could have been. Should have been greedy. Should have been greedy. Man, look at that thing go. Well, that was a little bit of an overextension there for a second, so maybe they're going to pause for a second. Let's see. Oh, man, they're just... It's just like a slow churn. Bye-bye. U.S. deeply concerned about China's interference with Vietnam's oil/gas activities. I think that could potentially be what causes the move. I don't know. Strong earnings from Target and Lowe's might boost consumer confidence. If I was in the command post right now and watching this intel, we would be increasing the DEFCON. The market is probably doing exactly the same thing. If you know the military is deploying, you can predict the market and psychology of the consumer who is concerned. Yes. Well, for sure. But, I mean, it's even more from my perspective, or rather from, let's say, our perspective, trading the 10-year Treasury. It's even more simple than that. Whenever there is disputes in the world, people move into safety, and the safest place is always the dollar. And it's that simple. So if there's going to be, so there is a tanker out there right now in the ocean going towards Syria from Iran. And the United States have said that that's not allowed. And I don't know what they're going to do, if they're going to board it or stop it, and if there's going to be a confrontation with Iran over it. But this has been a story that has just kind of been in the background for the past few days, but seems like it should be a really big deal. And and China would maybe potentially be involved with that too. And that would be the sort of thing where if something happened, then the market would really react. Like, remember when that British tanker was attacked and everybody said it was Iran and tensions were really high? Treasuries really moved up. Anemone says China's South Sea militarization has peaked. Artificial islands are becoming more trouble than they're worth. Oh, well, that's funny. I don't think that they're going to stop trying to... you're getting another short here, by the way. 15. I won't want to take one after 8:30, but oof. So another thought would be I would take it off at 7:30. Or at 8:30, where would that have put us? Where does this? That would have put me at 29.17. So $10 is 2 points. So I could have made another $50. But where it stops, now you're getting your first. So then if we had really, really held on to it, or we had dragged the stop down, and I'm not so sure, if I'm doing it with an 8 ticker. So let me show you. Boom, 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 over here. Come over here with me to the E-mini chart. This is an 8 tick range chart. I took it at 29.37. So if I have a stop that is following 8 ticks, then anytime that I get basically a blue bar, that would have stopped me out. See right there? So I would have gotten stopped out there or there. See? So you could certainly follow the trend all the way down, but how big of a stop would you have to put on there? Probably a 16 tick stop. And then you would have gotten stopped out here. And when I look at this thing, so I saw that as a signal, essentially. So when I was taking the trade, I saw that, and I saw that the treasuries looked really agitated, and so I took it right there, literally right there. Oh, and then I sat in it for a while, and I was thinking maybe I should take it. They finally got above the open, and then they really went. So here, then I took it off at 27. It really, really went. That was right here. Probably I should have waited and gotten out more around the 2020 area, because then that would have been another spike. Here, though, this 11 area is another one. It just doesn't give you, it's a very difficult signal. You can totally do it in the equities, but it's much more difficult. I think that there's something else I gotta look at. Macron says discussion with Johnson was complete and constructive. Johnson agreed to continue exchanges between Britain and the EU until September to try and reach an agreement on Brexit. Moody's says expects a further Fed rate cut in September to a target range of 1 3/4 to 2%. There are other things coming out here? Nope, and then it's back to the China stuff. Okay. Well, it's hard to say. There was a lot of news on there. Well, U.S. has a similar strat too. CF Greenland. Yeah, the whole Greenland thing. Oh man, the whole thing with the Prime Minister of Denmark making a mean comment to Donald Trump and then him being offended and canceling it. That whole storyline, as I find amusing. I know that a lot of people say that it's not funny and stuff like that, but I'm just watching this and I'm just like, come on, you gotta be like, it's a game. You gotta understand it's a game. Okay. Like, we would think that all of these things between Western world leaders is like super important, but to me, it's like they canceled the meeting. Must not have been a very important meeting if you're canceling it, you know? And the world leaders, they do this thing all the time where it's like, if it's a liberal leader or a conservative leader, they'll try and help their conservative allies in the US and vice versa. It's a game. And everybody was all super triggered about it yesterday. And I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter. Something's definitely happened here today. They're going to go for another dive down. They came down that one a little bit too quickly and didn't go. There might be a reversal here. And given we had a bunch of news here that I don't think was positive, but nothing end of the world or anything, I think there's a good chance that we'll see some retracement today. But at this point, I would only be trading the overextensions in the 10-year. Right? So I said a short at 15, maybe 14.5, you would have gotten it when you get out. Probably on that right there. Now it's a chop zone. Now you're out and you stay away from it unless it gives another really clear signal or trend. Shows that it's continued, because that could mean that they've found balance and that they're going to chop around here a bit. That kind of pattern. See that? 2 ticks up and then down, and and especially if it comes back to this 12. That's pretty. Are you listening to the news from Jackson Hole today? Well, I haven't seen any headlines from Jackson Hole. Well, actually, I take that back. There was some comments from one of the Fed board members earlier today. It wasn't there. But the headlines that came out of her were somewhat hawkish. And maybe part of why we sold so much earlier. This buy is kind of like, I don't know what's going on, I don't know. Maybe by tomorrow we'll have a better idea. Maybe we'll see, when it says weak manufacturing results. Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that was happening around that time, but and it was very weak manufacturing results, but it was pretty close to the estimates. The estimate was not terribly out of whack. Let me explain why I say that. Let me justify it. Okay, here's the PMI. Okay, so we underperformed it, right? Okay, July was worse. The flash manufacturing PMI. The services PMI, May was worse. Right? So it was a miss. It was a pretty bad miss, but it was a miss that is pretty standard of a miss. Right? So when you get something, when it's like that, okay, so a miss that will move the markets, but it's the degree to which they will miss that's going to be. Like this one right here in 2016, a miss like that, they probably didn't like that. In fact, I think I remember that one. But anyways, that would be a big deal. This one, I'm not so sure. Or rather, it should cause them to sell, but I'm just not so sure that it would cause them to sell this much. But it could be it. And, it's probably just a combination of a bunch of stuff, because there's just a bunch of stuff going on, I guess. And Alligator could be right, too, that it was just a technical move from, having it moved down so much overnight during the European session. Can't see that news being the cause of this sell-off in ES, though. Could be the repeated media commentary about the yield curve inversion spooking Joe Public. Oh, what's this? Somebody saying my name in crude? Why would they do that? So he wants to see the yield curve. I will show him the picture. Bum, bum, bum. A spooked Joe Public means a run on toilet paper? Likely no better picture until Powell finishes his comments at Davos this weekend. Oh, no, you're totally right. Totally, yeah. I think, oh, there's Ace. Yeah. Well, let's post our cryptocurrency notes while we're going here. And quick reminder, if you haven't checked out the Patreon, you should go and check it out. I post cryptocurrency charts every day with notes on how I see the market. I need to generate it. So if you are a subscriber for $5, you get those notes that day. And, we do let everybody else see them later. I'm wondering, maybe I should make it later, like maybe I should make it a month later. What do I gotta do to convince you guys to contribute, huh? Well, I don't think that I think that everybody here that's watching that's interested in posting cryptocurrencies is probably already subscribing to the Patreon. So maybe there should be some other rewards that we can give you guys. So I'll take a good think about that. And if you guys have any ideas about things that we could do for Patreon that would be worth $5 a month to you, let me know. You missed the biggest deal ever. We tried to ring your bell, but Seth bought everything all up and there's nothing left for you. Nope. I'm telling you, I was there at 27. I had my buy order in there. The market was like, oh man, that Seth is going to get his fill. That could be a place where it's going to bounce because that they're going to try and, make me chase it. And then they filled me. And then when they filled me, they were like, oh man, this is really a big, strong sell. And so they, then the market just really fell apart at that point. So I did everything that I could to get it to bounce there. But it, my one lot in MES, I know that it's a very important and market moving lot, but they just did not this time. Didn't work out that way. I have to say, and this is an important thing. A little rant. I actually think I should make a bigger video about this, but I always like to kind of give you guys these thoughts first, and then we can kind of develop the idea and see what you guys think about it, and then we can make it a video later. But there's been a lot said in the community lately about, well, not lately, but over the years, let's say, about how most traders are not successful. Most traders are not profitable. That it's something like 10% of traders are profitable. And there's been all sorts of speculation as to why that is the case. But I remember when I was much younger, before I went on my mission, I worked at this cyber cafe. And this guy came in and he was really excited just that there was a cyber cafe in Salt Lake. And he said that earlier that year, or earlier, because this was like 2003, he told me that 2 years earlier that he was in a trading arcade and he would trade equities. And he was making millions of dollars a year. He claimed he was making millions of dollars a year trading equities. And then when the 2001 crash from 9/11 happened, he says he lost all of it. And he doesn't trade anymore. And this guy, it was kind of funny to me because this guy did not seem like he had a whole lot of self-control. He would come in and he would play a lot. And he was only around for like a week or two, and then he disappeared. But he just didn't seem like somebody with a great deal of self-control. And I remember thinking, man, like, how can you have millions of dollars and lose it? But there's been this thing that I learned and about markets, and they said that when you have a market that's good, everybody makes money. And when you have a market that's hard, even the best traders have a hard time making money in it. Even if they're scalping and they can go short in either direction or whatever the deal is. And if you look at the history of trading, you know, in that time period when it was like equities and this guy made a ton of money, Futures Trader 71, he was trading at that time. And you know what he was doing? He was trading equities. And then after that time period, he traded futures, scalping them. And, you know, he changed it and now he swings trades. But I think what that tells you is different markets are good at different times. One of the markets has been really good past few years, options. Because volatility has been so low, the options are super, super cheap. And then when you get a good move, you can make so much on your money with very, very small risk. And it really works really, really well for a small trader. And so I would argue when you look at the market, during the quantitative easing days, futures and commodities was a really good market. And now since Donald Trump has been president, the time periods that we've been trading, although we do get some good spikes of volatility, futures market hasn't been as big of a deal. And I believe now with the inverted yield curve, or at least it close to being inverted, that I think that it puts markets in a place where you're going to see a lot more volatility, a lot more swinging around, and especially in treasuries, and that treasuries is a really good trade again. And so we're in a spot where if you can take those swings and you can take them both directions like we are, you can be super, super successful. And I think the key is just kind of knowing your market and knowing when it's time to push it. And we might be coming up on that time period. But it's all at that point, just kind of luck of the draw if you get your big opportunity or not. So anyways, that's that thought. There's a bunch of comments here. A says that 27 just got blew through. I was wrong, sorry. But you know what? I still made $45 and I did take it live. So what you gonna say? We were looking at it and I was like, you know, even if I trailed the stop down, that wouldn't have worked either. So I really have no way of really knowing where to have taken a trade like that one off. To come out of a trade $45, I'm happy with that. So whatever. Define your terms of success. How big do you want to grow? When we were CTOing in the corporate world and going to club, computer types were the risk gamblers. Some take it too far and some treat it as a hobby. Some consider it a team sport and some play it safe and steady within the game and slow and easy with conservative play. I don't think it's about that. I think that we do want to grow the channel and we want to get it as big as possible. The big goal right now is we want 1,500 subscribers and we are so close. We're like 10 more subscribers. So another week or two and we're to 1,500. And then I would really like, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000. And I think that we can get there. It will take a long time, but I think we can get there. Part of it is I don't think that the YouTube environment right now is terribly conducive to us. I've noticed, what I like to watch on YouTube is new stuff about nuclear power. I like to learn about nuclear power. And it's funny, as much as I watch about nuclear power, it doesn't recommend very many videos to me. What's the date today? 08/22. It's like it only recommends tripe to me. It's just really dumb. And I think that we might be experiencing some of that. It seems to me that most of the viewers that watch the channel are people that are subscribed and they watch it a lot. And I really appreciate it. And I thank you guys. It's a good group of, probably about 24, 30 people that are watching every day. And that's where we get most of our views from. And so to me, the thing that I think is important is that we have a good community and that we're helping those people in the community. There's a big spoof there at 12.5. I think you buy that. Let's see what it does. Anyways, and so I think that we're doing a pretty good job at that in the moment. And so I have a bunch of different videos that I want to make. So I'm going to make all of those videos. I should have another one out on Monday. I'm going to decide which one I want to edit this weekend because I have like 4 recorded that I could put out. So that's what we're going to do. And then we can just kind of let the channel grow as necessary, because to me, I don't think that we're ever going to be a mainstream thing. What we do is super niche, What we do is super niche. And so while I would love to have 100,000 subscribers, it's probably not a very realistic goal, for our niche. I would have to very much expand out to get that many, So, I don't know. But the more important thing to me is to develop my trading and to have a good community. And I think that on those spots, we're doing really great. And so we're going to, look at the September time period and see how we do in there. And I've, got some goals. I don't want to go too much into it because I kind of like to keep you guys in the dark about what I'm actually trading. I'll show you after the fact, but while I'm doing it, it's kind of like the less I can say about it, the better. So, but that's why I say, for instance, that trade that I took in MES, I did take that one live, but most of the trades that I'm taking right now are not live. Anyways, so I've yapped a bunch and now it's 9:03, so it's time for me to go. But thank you very much, and thank you for the help that you give with the channel. You can spread it around, but really it's a niche thing. So we're looking for a specific type of person, Now, any ideas you might have on how to find more of that specific type of person would certainly help. And I guess another thing I could say is the Patreon is a big deal, right? And I think that what we have on the Patreon is a really, really good powerful tool that more people should be aware of. And I would really like that to be more popular. I feel like there should be hundreds or thousands of people in the cryptocurrency space watching that, because then we would not have as much crazy Bitcoin movement. So that's another thing. If you have any ideas about the Patreon and how we can boost that a little bit, that would help. But I digress. Ace says, have a good one. I will see you guys tomorrow. In the meantime,